Today I'm getting ready for a week-long trip our family is taking to the mountains, so join me as I show you how I'm gonna pull this all off. It's actually just a few days before we leave, but I'm determined. I'm gonna get as much done as possible today. I've got the toddler in daycare, so we've got time that we can focus on getting meals and snacks together, getting maybe some breakfast foods, maybe even some appetizers. I have a huge plan. I don't think I can pull the whole plan off, but we're just gonna kind of make it a bit of a challenge to see how much we can get done. I have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, because the plan A is like the bare minimum, like what we absolutely have to accomplish today. And then B is like a few bonus things that I like to do but are not completely necessary. And C is like my shoot for the stars, like dream list of what I'd like to be able to take with us on the trip. I also need to do all the packing, which, as you know, if you've got a little one, there is so much more to pack, and it's been a while since we took a longer trip with a little one. I'm used to traveling with like teens and older kids and young adults, been doing that forever and ever, and we've taken some pretty epic trips with the family. But like I said, it's been a while since I had to pack for a longer trip with a toddler, so I've got lists to make sure that I don't forget, you know, the life jacket and the sound machine and the blankets and the bottles and like all the things. So I might even have you follow me along on some of the packing if there's time, but we're definitely gonna start with meals. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm gonna get some chicken cooked up. Now, normally if I'm cooking a lot of chicken for one time for batch cooking, I do it on trays in the oven, but we're just using a small amount today, so I'm actually gonna do it in the Instant Pot. I have a love-hate relationship with my Instant Pot, but cooking chicken, just plain in there, is one thing that I do know how to do. So we're going to put that in with a little bit of water and do this setting for 8 minutes. That's all it takes. We're just doing up some chicken breasts, and then I'll tell you later what we're gonna plan to do with those. Next, I'm gonna get some water boiling on the stove so that I can cook up the pasta for our freezer pasta salad. I know that those things sound contradictory, but believe it or not, we've got several amazing recipes for pasta salad you can make ahead and freeze and then pull out when you need it. So we're going to be doing one of those today. And then once those things are started and going, then I'm going to move on to pack some of the snacks for the road trip, because we've got 7 hours in the vehicle, which, like I said, if you've got older ones, not so long, but with a little one, we're gonna need all the help we can get and all the snacks. So we're gonna get started on those, and then we're just gonna keep going and see what all we can accomplish today. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. While we wait for our chicken and pasta to cook, I'm just gonna get started on some little snack containers. All I'm doing, these are for the toddler, is I've got these little, I think it's a brand called Melly, and they're little snack containers. You can attach them together. Oh, you gotta do it the right way. It's like Lego. But yeah, you know, if you wanted to have multiples, but we'll just be giving them to him one at a time on the drive. Now, you can put fruit in there, which would be awesome if he would eat fruit. He will not. You can do nuts. He is allergic. And we have all the snacks that are here are peanut safe, tree nut safe. You can do, like, if the kids are a little older, you could do like mini marshmallows, would be fun, but he's just little. So I've got these Gerber snacks, puffs, sweet potatoes. I also have Gerber, what are these? Strawberry apple. So we'll put a little of each. That way it's a bit of a surprise. I don't know how different they taste, but they must. Anyway, I'm not gonna overfill any of these containers because it's probably gonna end up on the floor of our vehicle anyway. This one I actually have a different plan with, so just do these for now. And then I've got, oh, they're slightly different colors, so maybe they really do taste different. Got some goldfish crackers. He likes them, calls them fishies. I like personally to get this kind that has no artificial color or flavor. You can get whatever kind you want, but it's just my preference. And so they don't look orange. They're just, you know, more of a natural color, I guess. So he will like the fishies. And then I'm gonna give these a little bit of a shake too, so that the stars and fish intermingle and a little bit more fun. Okay, then I'm gonna put in, got these, you know, organic, not that matters, but it makes me feel better. I mean, I'm feeding him basically junk here, but the word organic makes me feel less guilty about it. So we've got these Annie's Organic Bunny cookies. Well, it doesn't call them cookies, but let's be honest, that's what they are. He's not that big on cookies in general, but he will like the fact that there is a rabbit. So, you know, they're shaped like little bunnies, so we'll put 2 or 3 in each of these containers here, and he'll think that's fun. And then I have some blueberry banana veggie blend Cheerios. Again, it's pretty much just Cheerios that make me feel less guilty about feeding them to him. So, there's probably also something real fruit and veggies. See, that's for people like me, to make us feel like, hey, we're feeding them something good. And these are like purple, like the blueberries, and yellowy, like the bananas. Okay. So these cups are not very full. I'm gonna show them to you because, like I said, he will likely spill them or throw them, and they will end up all over the vehicle. But they're just something that once in a while we can hand one of these back to him, and he can have fun going through here and just exploring his little snack mix. So thing number 1, checked off the list. Since we've got snack mix for the little one, I think we should make snacks mix for the adults. We're gonna do a Chex Mix. I don't know if you knew this, but Chex Mix actually freezes really well. It freezes for up to 3 months. Now I'm gonna take 1 bag with us when we go on the trip, and I'm gonna leave another bag here in the freezer, or I might put it in a container, because I have found in the past that if I put them in bags, sometimes it gets squished, and then you end up with, you know, like fragments of Chex, and everybody would rather have full Chex, right? Now, this is exciting news, but maybe only to me and my fellow Canadians. I have bugles! And the crowd roared. Canada has not carried bugles for over a year, and I always include bugles in my Chex Mix. I was recently traveling to the States, and I actually drove there, and so I was able to pick up some bugles in a Walmart, bring them home to include in this Chex Mix. So I'm more excited than you might think one would be about Chex Mix, and that's why. So I've got my giant bowl, and we're just gonna start throwing things in here. I guess it just would have been easier to dump this whole thing in there, but it called for 10 cups, and this ends up being about 11 or 12, so we're just gonna use the whole thing. It'll be great. I'll just increase slightly some of the other measurements, and it'll all work out, I'm sure of it. Back when one of our sons used to be gluten-free, I used to make Chex Mix because the Chex is gluten-free, and then I didn't include the bugles at the time, but I could get gluten-free pretzels to include, and then I would do it with peanuts back then. Of course, now we just stay away from peanuts as a general rule for things like this because of the whole peanut allergy thing. But if you're wanting to make yourself a gluten-free snack, then as long as you're just careful about the seasonings and them being gluten-free, then this is totally something that you can go with and just crunch away all day. Next, we're gonna add some olive oil, Worcestershire sauce, seasoning salt, and some dry onion. For my dry onion, I have this 3 onion blend that I really love, and so I'm using this. And this is normally all I put in it, but today I'm also gonna add some Cajun seasoning just to kind of make it a little bit more bold. And it's an experiment. I think it should be good. we'll have to wait and see. Just gonna pour all these right on top and then give it a stir. Next, you want to put it in a single layer on a baking sheet, and then you're just going to bake it at 200 degrees for an hour. So it's just low and slow. And once it's completely cooled, which again doesn't take long because you cooked it at such a low temperature, then you can get it into your freezer bag or your freezer safe container. I'm going to split it onto 2 trays because, you know, it makes a really large amount and you want it to just be not exactly a single layer, but close to a single layer. The pasta from the pasta salad's done, so I'm just gonna drain that and rinse it under cold water to get that ready. And I'm just gonna clean down. I made a little bit of a mess, went a little hog wild with the Worcestershire sauce. So I'm gonna just give this a bit of a wipe down and then we'll do a reset for the next recipe. The Cajun chicken Caesar salad calls for just 1 cooked chicken breast, but I'm gonna do about 1.5 and cube that up because I had enough pasta left over to make, like, I don't know, when I opened my bow tie pasta container, I was like, that's too much to make this recipe, but not enough to keep the rest, if you know what I mean. So I decided to cook it all, and it was almost double what we needed. So I'm kind of essentially doubling the recipe as I go. The other thing is, if you've watched the channel for a while, then you know that one of my philosophies is done is better than perfect. And this is definitely the case today. As you know, as you see with our plan A, plan B, plan C, we're still working on plan A, so we'll see how things go here. I've got a deadline, so we'll just get as much done as we can. But anyway, with the done is better than perfect, when I printed off the recipe for the Caesar chicken pasta salad, I realized that I needed bacon. And I do have bacon, it's in my freezer. I'd have to thaw it, then cook it, then wait for it to cool, then get it in the recipe. So I thought that's probably not happening. But one of the mornings on the trip, I'm actually making a frittata, hash brown casserole, and bacon. So my plan is that when I cook up that bacon, because I'm cooking it up anyway, I'll cook up a bit of extra and just crumble it and keep it to add to the pasta salad, which will probably be the next day or even later that same day. So that'll work out absolutely perfectly. And then I'm not doing any extra work. I'm not even dirtying an extra skillet or sheet pan, depending on how I decide to cook the bacon. So, you know, it's all gonna work beautifully. But you'll notice that when I put this pasta salad together, it's not gonna have the bacon in it, and that's why. Now, the frittata is already made and it's in my freezer, and I will actually go over how I made that just so that you can see, you know, if you wanted to make a frittata for your freezer too, you could. And then for the, this is still a little hot, so I'm not cutting it the way that I would normally cut chicken. Again, done is better than perfect. I'm just kind of doing it as I go. But the hash brown casserole we need to make today. Now, the hash brown casserole is in my plan B, not my plan A, because worst case scenario, if I don't get a hash brown casserole made, then what I can do is just make hash browns. It's not my preference, and we prefer the casserole, plus it's a lot easier to have it made ahead of time, not having to think about it, just, you know, take it straight from the cooler to the freezer there, take it out, put it in the slow cooker, because I've got a slow cooker that is at the place we're staying there, and I can just, you know, cook it. The frittata will bake in the oven. It'll all be a beautiful thing. However, that is on the list of things that's like, it would be nice to have, but not a must have. So we'll see if we get to it today. So while I'm doing this, I might as well tell you about my recent trip to the States. I drove by myself. It was my first time ever crossing a border by myself. I've crossed a border. My husband and I took 6 of our kids on a 23-day road trip back in 2016, so quite a while ago now. It was amazing. First we went to British Columbia, then we went down to Portland for 3 days. Then we actually were supposed to only stay there 1 day, but we just really were having a great time. So we stayed there for 3 days, went to, down to Cannon Beach in Oregon, which is so beautiful. And I've heard it's really windy, but the day we went was pristine weather. Couldn't have been better. No wind and just gorgeous skies. And it was in February, but it was still warm. It was great. Then we went down to Monterey Bay, San Francisco first, stayed there for not really sure how many days, at least 3. We did a lot. Did their science museum, we did Alcatraz, we did the California, it was a different science place. I don't exactly remember the name of it, sorry, but I've been there twice actually. I should remember the name of it. Anyway, we had a fantastic time. We took all kinds of transportation, and just to make it kind of fun, because we had taken, the trolley and the bus and the subway and all these different things. I think we even took a double-decker bus, and we were just talking about all these different transportation methods that we were taking, and we took a small ferry there. So then we, for $20, rented a limo for like 3 blocks, just so the kids could ride in the limo, and we could say we had done like every method of transportation that we could find, basically. So that was kind of a positive memory of our time in San Francisco. It was all great, but that was just something that the kids still talk about. And then we did Monterey Bay. So there's an aquarium there that we went to. We stayed near the beach there. That was really beautiful, very relaxing. And then we went to Disneyland, as people with kids sometimes do. So we were in Anaheim, and then we drove to Arizona. My dad was wintering there at the time, and we stayed with him for a few days. My brother and wife and their kids were also there at the same time. It's a little squishy in my dad's small trailer with all of us, but it was a really good time, and great memories were made. Then we drove to Moab, Utah, which is my husband's happy place, I always say, because he loves mountain biking. He's been going there for, almost 2 decades, or maybe 2 decades. So it was really special for him to be able to share that with us. And I had never seen it. Our kids had never seen it. So it's just a really kind of special time. He and some of our older kids at the time, did go mountain biking. They rented bikes because we hadn't brought ours, of course, because it's such a long trip. And we all went on a hike, and it was, it's just stunning territory there. Like, looks like something out of a movie. Well, it has been in many movies. Anyway, a little bit like you're walking on Mars sometimes because of the red earth, but it was just really beautiful. Then we went up to Montana for 1 day, and then back to Alberta. So that was our epic road trip, which is not what I was telling you guys about, but I got sidetracked there. So this time I drove into BC, got a little bit turned around because there was a big accident, so I had to go a different way than I had planned, but sometimes that's how life takes you. And then I went down and went into Idaho. It was supposed to be kind of a business retreat thing with some friends that I've made online over the years. And some of them, of course, now that we've been friends for so long, have met in person and have done different conferences and things in different parts of the States. Never Canada, ironically, but 2 of them in particular, I've, spent a lot of time with over the years in person. Those ones, actually, I went to the Dominican with them. We did some service work there quite a number of years ago. It was really, again, that's a story unto itself. It just, it was the experience of a lifetime, I'll put it that way. And I'm just so thankful that I was able to go on that and experience what I did there. So again, making this short story long, I met up with these women there. There were 7 of us. We rented an Airbnb and we kind of did business things in the morning and sessions and learning. And then in the afternoon, we relaxed. So one day we went to the beach, another day, and I had never seen Lake Coeur d'Alene. I'd never been to Coeur d'Alene. And we did pedicures one day. Can you imagine like the relaxation? It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe I was sitting there like getting my pedicure and I'm looking out over this gorgeous lake and I was like, this is the life. It was pretty awesome. And another day we took a 90-minute boat cruise around Lake Coeur d'Alene and just went and like wandered and did window shopping down in the shops in Coeur d'Alene. Went to dinner sometimes and it was so relaxing. And I drove there by myself. It was over 10 hours on the way there. The way back ended up being a lot longer and I had to actually eventually break it into 2 days because one of the ladies that I was there with, her flight back to Ontario, which is way, way further down in Canada, or way, way further over in Canada, was canceled because of a WestJet strike. The engineers went on strike. So her flight was canceled. I ended up taking her back with me to the Calgary airport, which is in Alberta, but not anywhere near where I live. So the trip back also had some unexpected surprises, just like the detour on the drive down there. But the whole thing was like such a nice reset for me, just to be able to relax and have some quiet. And I love my family so, so much, of course. And I'm looking forward to spending like this vacation time with them and being with them in a vehicle. But being by myself in a vehicle, like that had perks too. And I got to pick up bugles so that I could make Chex Mix with bugles in it, which pretty much made the like 20-some hour drive there and back worth it. We're gonna go ahead and assemble our Caesar chicken pasta salad. I decided to do it all in one bag, even though I doubled it, because on this trip that we're going on, 4 of my nieces and their husbands and kids, as well as my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, are going to be there as well. So I'm trying to think of how many kids my nieces have altogether. 13. So there will be 13 kids plus some of our kids. We're hardly bringing any of our kids at all with us this time because a lot of them are working. So it's going to be a tiny group of us, but all together there's going to be so many people, at least 30, I think. No, I counted. It took me a minute. There are going to be, I think, 27 or 28 of us. So not 30, but enough that I think I can take out double the pasta salad and bring it with me to like a potluck night or, you know, whatever we're doing. And there will be plenty of people to eat it. So that's why I'm doing that. I'm going to put the recipe for this in the description down below so that you can grab all the amounts. Now you know that you can either put the bacon in it right then, or you could add it on the day of if you're like me and you just were not organized enough to thaw your bacon ahead of time, or to buy bacon, because that sometimes has happened to me too. I was just using up a thing of Caesar dressing that I had already in the fridge because, you know, you want to use what's oldest first. It hadn't expired yet though. It's got a few months left to go. And then we'll move on to our brand new container of Caesar dressing. The thing I love about making this here and bringing it with me, because this is really only going to need to be in the freezer for, you know, about a week. But it's so nice because then I don't have to take all the ingredients there with me or go to the store there and get all the ingredients. It's just so much less to worry about. But the biggest thing probably for me is that now I won't have to do so many dishes when I'm there, which, you know, I want to be able to relax and enjoy it and have it be a bit of a vacation for me too. And if I'm constantly doing dishes, it does not feel like much of a vacation. I will admit that when it comes to Parmesan cheese, I almost always buy it pre-shredded, but they didn't have any pre-shredded this time at the store. So I'm shredding it myself. So some salt and pepper and a lemon juice. And then we're gonna squish everything together in the bag and seal it. Now you wanna make sure you get out all the air, because air is what can cause freezer burn. This one we don't have to worry as much because it's not staying in the freezer for very long, but you still wanna make it as fresh as you can, so you might as well. I'm gonna make a note on it to add the bacon just so I don't forget, because you know how things get busy and sometimes you had good intentions and forget to do them. Now, this is not the most colorful thing ever, but when you make it up the day of, if you want to, you can add a lettuce to it. And I almost always do. This time I may not, because like I said, I'm trying to make my vacation as easy on myself as I can, or as vacation-y as a vacation can be when you're the parent. This will be something that I take with me to the potluck. And now we have one more thing done for the trip. And our plan A is going really well so far. I'm gonna let you guys in on my chaos. So for the next thing that we're gonna be making, which is still on the plan A list, I wanna do quesadillas. I couldn't find a lot of my metal trays, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, one's in the oven with the Chex mix on it, but like one's actually waiting to be washed, so that's fine. I mean, I can wash it and go, but I was like, I've got more trays than this. And then I remembered like a month ago when we did our live cooking class. So we have the Freezer Meals 101 Club, which, you know, it takes our recipes and you can create your own meal plan and shopping list, prep list, printable labels with the cooking instructions. But we added to that we do a monthly live cooking class with our members. So we had done our very first live cooking class, and as part of that, we made, you know, 10 meals, but we also made our semi-famous red sauce. And just to make it easier to freeze, I like to put it on a tray and then freeze them flat so they don't end up, you know, being like if they're more round, then they're more difficult to fit in my freezer. So I used a tray and I froze them flat. I actually used 2 trays, but I've already rescued one. And that's where my tray was. So I'm gonna go disperse my red sauce properly in my freezer, and then I will have a tray for our quesadillas. But I just wanted to share kind of that, you know, even I forget things in my freezer. It's normal, it happens to everyone. For me, an absolute must-have for any vacation is buffalo chicken quesadillas. They're my favorite, I don't know, like they're my favorite lunch, especially when I'm away and I like to feel like I'm treating myself. I also make up fresh guacamole to go with it, but I don't do that until the day of. I know you can freeze guacamole, but I prefer mine fresh, so I do it that way. The nice thing about the quesadillas is as long as you freeze them flat first before transferring them into your freezer bag, then you can take them out one at a time. So sometimes my husband will be out mountain biking and I am back like reading or working or one of the less like take your life into your own hands activities. I can grab out 1 or 2 quesadillas. I can either put them in the oven or I can fry them in a skillet. Usually I do them in a skillet, and then I can make up my guacamole and just sit there and be like, oh, this is heavenly. So that is why we're making buffalo chicken quesadillas. Also, one of my daughters who's coming with us loves them as much as I do, maybe more. So she will be thrilled as well. And my husband likes them too. They're also great for like, if you're watching a movie and you want like a treat and, you know, late night snack kind of thing, they're great for that too. You can have them with salsa. However you have them, they're amazing. So we're gonna make those up. But first we need to buffalo eyes our chicken. So I'm gonna grab that out of the Instant Pot and we'll get to it. We've got our Frank's Red Hot and our chicken. We're just gonna add, now if I am shredding large amounts of chicken at one time, then I use my hand mixer to do that. But this is like 2 chicken breasts, so and just shred these with a fork. And hopefully, because they were cooked in the Instant Pot, they'll be nice and tender, which they seem to be. I'm adding some more buffalo, or Frank's Red Hot is what I'm adding to make it buffalo-esque. Now I have to tell you, honestly, as I was shredding that, I was like, I don't enjoy shredding chicken, even do chicken breasts. I'm gonna pull out my hand mixer next time. It just makes it like half the time, or actually like a quarter of the time. Anyway, so that's like 11 minutes of my life I'll never get back. I'm not going to be making a huge amount of quesadillas. I'm going to get the vegetables for them ready. But if it doesn't use all of the chicken, then in my plan B, I have something that I would really ideally like to make. We'll see if we have time. For now, let's get to these. I usually add red pepper, onion, the chicken, of course, cheese, and jalapenos. But in some of them, I'm gonna add some sliced pickles today because I like pickles on my nachos now. It's something my brother introduced me to about 2 years ago, and I've been doing it here and there ever since. I really like the tang and the crunch of it, and it does, surprisingly, pickles freeze. So I'm gonna try some with and some without because I've never done the quesadillas with the pickles in them, and I'm not sure if it will make the flour tortilla soggy or not. So it's an experiment. No promises. I'll have to report back, but I will just, you know, again, have some without in case it's a total flop. Oh, and I don't have a red pepper today, so I have a yellow pepper that's in great shape. I use that. I use fresh jalapenos for mine. You could use pickled if you want, although that might have the same problem as the pickles. I'm not sure with the sogginess. So I'll just be reporting back about all the things. I cut extra of the purple onion and jalapenos because I've got these great prep bowls. I know I've shown them to you before, but they're just fantastic. I have them in 1 cup, 2 cup, and 3 cup measurements, and they have handy dandy lids. So I can actually take these in the cooler with us because the other treat for me on vacation, no surprise here, is nachos. There will be a night where I curl up either with a book or a movie and eat nachos with blue corn chips, and it's going to be glorious. So I will bring the extras of the jalapenos and the onions. I'll slice the baby tomatoes fresh there because it just, you know, that works better that way. But that is why I'm doing extras of those. And we're just gonna slice a few pickles. Like I said, this is just an experiment, so not gonna have a lot. And our first tray of Chex Mix is out of the oven, which means that it took a really long time. Honestly, to do the pasta salad and kind of prep for these quesadillas. I don't know if I'm moving in slow motion today or if it's just because I didn't have my prep done. Probably because I didn't have my prep done, but we'll just keep going. We are still on plan A and we're almost done plan A, and I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna move on to plan B. Definitely gonna move on to part of plan B because, you know, I like to do things and I like to have as much done ahead as possible. Future me, vacation me, is going to thank today me so much. So the more I get done today, the more future me is gonna be pleased. I'm just using a habanero blend cheese. You could use a Monterey Jack or jalapeno Jack or a Tex-Mex blend or cheddar, whatever your preferred quesadilla cheese of choice is. I know some people assemble quesadillas where it's everything there and then they put another flour tortilla on top. I like to assemble mine so that it's half and then fold it over. I just find that works best. And it's easier to put on the trays and get frozen. That's the other method to my madness. So cheese, then chicken, then toppings of your choice. But I suggest you do not put things like avocado or tomato in there. You can do corn, black beans, sweet potato, all of those freeze really well. We have a black bean and sweet potato quesadilla in the Freezer Meals 101 Club. That is so good. We also have, we've done a few quesadillas. The spinach and artichoke one is probably one of my favorites. Next to the buffalo chicken ones, those are my favorite. So all kinds of possibilities in this little flour tortilla bundle. That second tray of Chex Mix is in the oven. First tray is in a bag. It's all cooled, and you can see that this is about as much as you would want. You wouldn't want to shove it all into one bag, so you want to separate it into 2 large gallon-sized bags. I thought I would tell you what other freezer meals we're bringing on the trip and how to make them, just in case you want to do it too. So remember that I've got access to a slow cooker. I know that you don't have access to a slow cooker on every trip, but if you're somewhere that has electricity and you're driving there, you can actually bring your slow cooker with you. And I've done that on almost all of our family vacations for years and years. One of the things I'm bringing is Dr. Pepper pulled pork. We love this. It's so like set it and forget it. I know they say that about the crock pot, but this is just absolutely like the epitome of that saying. Throw it in there in the morning. You leave, you go and you do whatever you want to do. So, you know, whether we're going to go for a hike, go to the pool, go like whatever, go on an adventure or go shopping in the nearby town. When we get back, it's going to be like perfectly ready to shred. And then we can serve it on buns with coleslaw. Sometimes we even like to put some potato chips on there so that you get that crunch. We like to serve ours with Christy, my friend and neighbor, who you know from the videos if you've watched before. She taught me how to make a really easy garlic mayo. It's just salt, pepper, mayo, lemon juice, garlic, that's it. And I always mix some of that up ahead of time and bring it with us. And everyone loves that. If I forget, because I have forgotten, then I'll just get a purchased salad dressing and use that instead, like one of those thicker ones that are over by the produce in your grocery store, because we always do a salad as well, not on the pulled pork day, but on the one pot pasta puttanesca day, which is coming up in a second. So first I'm going to tell you about the pork. You've got your pork shoulder or butt in your large freezer bag. Then you're going to add a coarsely chopped onion, a can of chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. You can take those out before shredding if you don't like things to be too spicy, or you can leave them in if you like things on the spicier side. Then you're going to add some Dr. Pepper, brown sugar, salt, and pepper. That's it. Sometimes you want to wait just a minute or two for some of the bubbles to get out of there before you seal it, because you do want to get as much air out as you can. And if you've got too many bubbles from the Dr. Pepper in there, it can be more difficult to take the air out. Then just get that in your freezer, take it with you on the trip, throw it into your slow cooker when it's thawed, or even partially thawed will work for this recipe. Even just like thawed enough to get it out of the bag, which you can do by running your bag under some water before you dump it in there. So I was just saying a minute ago about the pasta puttanesca. It's a one pot meal, which again uses less dishes, and I love that. I forgot to mention, and this is super important, for my slow cooker recipes, I am bringing crock pot liners. Hold on. These are my slow cooker liners, but this box is almost empty. So we're gonna bring this box, which is pretty much full. And because I'm thinking of it now as I'm talking to you, I'm gonna throw this right now into my packing things so that it doesn't get left behind, because this will make cleanup a breeze. You can find this, there's a link to our Amazon store in the description below, as well as a link to these recipes. So you can find these in our Amazon shop if you're interested, but I'm bringing those. So one pot pasta puttanesca, unfortunately not a slow cooker recipe, but just as easy. You're going to put into your freezer bag some olive oil anchovy paste, minced garlic. We just use our garlic straight from a jar. It's even easier that way. Then you're gonna add a can of San Marzano tomatoes. You can break that up either with a mix and chop or with your fingers. Then some pitted Kalamata olives, capers, red pepper flakes, salt, pepper, and chicken or vegetable broth. You're gonna squish all those things together to combine them, get as much air out of the bag as you can, seal it and freeze it. You take this with you again in your cooler, and then when you're there, on the day you decide to make it, you thaw it. It's a pretty skinny bag, therefore it thaws fairly quickly. And this is one that you could even have for lunch because it would be thawed in time to make for lunch. And then you just put the spaghetti noodles right into there. So as I'm saying that, I'm gonna grab spaghetti noodles. We have a giant box because we have a large family. This bag is open already, so I'm not gonna take it, but I'm gonna take one of the other bags and just bring that with us. And then I'm also going to bring a bag of red sauce. You guys saw that earlier because I have, I think I have 6 of them in the freezer, and it's just a quart-sized bag, and there's not that many of us going. So if it turns out that I'm not bringing enough food for every single meal, because I know because it's vacation, we might end up eating out. We might end up, because there's so many family members there, getting burgers and doing like a big, burger get together or hot dogs or that kind of thing because it's vacation. There's a pizza place nearby that, we could get takeout from. So I don't want to over plan and then have to bring a whole bunch home, but I do want to have some sort of just in case, because red sauce doesn't take up a lot of space. It's a quart-sized bag. So I'll bring one of those, and then we'll obviously have extra spaghetti because I'm not putting this whole thing in the pasta puttanesca. So then if we decide to just kind of have a spaghetti night and, get a garlic bread, or even I've got garlic bread in the freezer that I could bring, then that's a whole other meal, and I didn't have to bring a whole lot more things because I'm trying to not complicate things. Another thing that we are going to eat that is a crock pot meal is our crock pot barbecue drumsticks. These are like fall off the bone tender, so good, and it was a special request from my husband, and he knew that I had them in the freezer already, so all I'm doing is grabbing the bag. So couldn't be easier for me, and it's going to be a treat for him, just like the buffalo quesadillas are going to be a treat for me. So to make these in the first place, you've got your drumsticks in your large freezer bag, and then you're going to mix some paprika, cumin, and salt in a small bowl, and just dump that into the bag, and then shake it just like good old shake and bake. Seal the bag and give it a shake to coat the chicken. Then you're going to open that bag up and add some minced garlic and barbecue sauce. Seal that up, squish everything together to combine it, get out the air, and then you're going to put some more barbecue sauce in a quart size. That's a medium freezer bag. We like to put just a little splash of cider vinegar into the barbecue sauce bottle just so that we can shake it and get out all of the remaining barbecue sauce. We don't want anything to go to waste, and there's already some vinegar in barbecue sauce, so it doesn't really affect the flavor. Then you've got your barbecue sauce bag, and you staple that to your large bag so that on the day you go to make this, when they're done cooking beautifully in your slow cooker and you were gone all day and didn't have to think about it, then you can come back and you're going to transfer it to a foil-lined baking sheet, and you're going to baste those with the sauce that's in the quart-size bag. Get them in your oven to crisp them up. You're just going to broil them for like 5 minutes or whatever. And once they're browning on that side, you flip them over, so even like 2-3 minutes, and then broil them on the other side, and then you have crispy yet super tender drumsticks, which is the best possible combination. Then the other thing that I'm bringing that I had made already, well, I am bringing some of our buttermilk waffles. I'm going to pop a link right up here and in the description below if that link didn't work for you. to a video that I recently did where I was making breakfast and snack things, mostly breakfast things. And in that video, I tripled a batch of my buttermilk waffles. And so they are in freezer bags. And the nice thing about that is all I need to do is bring those and some syrup, and those can go in the toaster. They can be taken out individually, and it makes a really, really easy breakfast for us. Speaking of, this is getting packed. You guys are just helping me with the packing, because when it comes to mind, if I don't get it set aside and, you know, get it into the packing boxes, it might not make it there. So thank you so much. This is great. This is fantastic. And when I'm there and I'm like, oh, I remembered the syrup, I'm going to be like, thank you, YouTube. So breakfasts are mostly going to be our waffles, oatmeal, just simple things. I have to admit, I got those fun pack cereals, you know, the kind that you get for camping or whatever, just because it's like one of those once a year treats that the kids look forward to. And then we're gonna do one day, probably Sunday morning, where we just do a nicer breakfast. So like I said, frittata, hash brown casserole, and bacon. So the frittata is already made and in the freezer. All you do for that is you choose whatever vegetables you wanna do. Sometimes I saute them, and then you add those into your bag or into your bowl. And you can use whatever vegetables really that you want, as long as they freeze well, which is a lot of them. And then you can add your eggs. So I think I added about 10 to 12 eggs. Again, this recipe, the actual recipe, will be in the description. And then I added some sour cream, some heavy cream, some rosemary, trying to remember, Swiss cheese, grated Swiss cheese. It becomes quite a thick mixture. And what I would have done if I had realized that I was going to be taking this on this trip with me is I would have made it straight into a foil container, because that way I, you know, wouldn't have to do dishes with it. But I am going to pack a foil container. Hold on. All right, foil tray is coming with us. The spaghetti fits inside just beautifully. So do the crock pot liners. All right, that's all coming with us so that I can take it from the freezer bag and dump it in there. Like I said, if I had thought of it that I was taking it on the trip, I would have just done it straight into the foil container. But yes, there's some salt, pepper, all those things, and mixed together, and then in that bag. This just bakes in the oven, really, really easy. And now we are going to make that hash brown casserole, which was kind of on my, you know, maybe list. Now it's becoming a for sure. We're gonna mix that together so that we can have it. If I remember how to make hash brown casserole, which I've got a recipe for it sitting right there. So we will do this together so we can have a really nice brunch that I don't have to think about, and that can just be cooking in the slow cooker, and it's like, off my mind. This is going to be a great example of done is better than perfect, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is all so simple and it's all things that I have, but you know, I could sit here and grate the cheddar cheese, or I can just throw in some of that habanero that's already grated, and I could, you know, dice a large white onion, or I could just use the purple onion that I already just diced. So we're literally gonna throw it together using things that we already have. First we're gonna melt our butter, then we're gonna add some cream of mushroom soup. We're gonna add the cheese, the onion, some pepper. I like to sometimes add some paprika. Then we're gonna add in our frozen hash browns. We're gonna get that put into a freezer bag. And this will just be one more thing that I don't have to think about, which is kind of awesome. I feel like there just continue to be examples for me to share with you about how done is better than perfect is kind of my motto, because I went to get the hash browns and we used to have these beautiful bags, like perfect bags of hash browns. They were the right size. They were like, everything worked for my beef hash, my hash brown casserole, all kinds of recipes that are so family friendly. and it was a 1 kilogram bag, and then they stopped making them. You can only get that bag in shredded now, which doesn't really work for most of our recipes. And I ended up buying this bag. It's 800 grams, and the hash browns are much bigger than I like, and than I would prefer, but whatever. I was like, no problem, I'll just buy 2 bags and I'll kind of use like 1 and a bit. Well, turns out my kids strike again. Teens are hungry, y'all. Anyway, we don't have enough, but we're gonna make do. It's just gonna be a little saucier and a little less, and there are less of us going, so it'll be totally fine. Again, we've already melted the butter. We're like committed at this point, so we're just gonna keep on. Okay, I'm gonna get this open. For 1 can, I guess I can not take out my electric can opener. I don't know if you can hear it, but I've got my dishwasher going because I like to clean as I go. I just find it so much less overwhelming. And you don't ever, that's why we suggest that you do your prep ahead too, because if you're one of these people that has never done freezer cooking before and you attempt to do like a whole bunch all at once and you don't do your prep ahead and you don't clean as you go, then it's going to be so, like that day is going to be so exhausting and possibly even overwhelming that you may never want to do it again, even though you look at your freezer and are like, oh, it's such an accomplishment. And, even though for the next weeks or months, you don't have to worry about dinner again, sometimes the memory of how hard that day was can make it so that you don't want to do it again. And we don't want that for anybody. We want this to be something that's enjoyable and where you make the best of it. And then where, like, when you do get to enjoy those weeks or months where you don't have to think about dinner and you don't have to make dinner and you have less dishes and all the things, then you're like, oh yeah, I can do that again. That's totally worth it, right? So that's one of the things about cleaning as you go. These are giant, like compared to my teeny little squares that were so nice. So we'll just see how this all works. Maybe I'll be glad. Maybe it'll be a good thing that there's less. We'll see. And if you have any like pull with Save On Foods, or Overweighty Food Group is their other name, then maybe you can let them know that I would love for the Western Family, that's their brand, like store brand, I would love for the Western Family hash browns to come back on shelves. So if you work for Save On or Overweighty, if you work for Western Family, let them know that Charlotte would like to get her hash browns back. It's been like 2 years. Or, you know what, Cavendish, if you could make like a smaller, much smaller, but not too small, because there's a McCain one, but it's too small. Talk about picky about hash browns. But seriously, it's like how it cooks up, right? And we had the recipes geared for this certain size of hash brown, and now it's just not quite right. Now the other thing that I'm gonna do, which I suggest you do if you're doing freezer cooking, is I'm going to sit down with my list of the freezer meals that I'm going to be making and make a little grocery list from that, or a list of things that I need to bring, or both. So in this case, like, I know that the day that we're doing the frittata hash brown casserole, I also want to do bacon and probably some fruit. So bacon is something that I can take from home. I've got some in my freezer and I can pack that. But the fresh fruit I'm going to want to buy when we're there. And so that's something that'll go on my grocery list, and the bacon will go on my packing list. Same with like a coleslaw mix, because I'm going to want, that's the other cheat that I do. You know how earlier I was saying for the pulled pork that sometimes if I forget to do the garlic mayo and bring it with us, because I don't want to bring like mayo and lemon juice, you know, all of that, but I like to do it just in one of those prep containers that I was showing you. So if I forget to do that, or if I decide not to, then I just buy those great pre-done salad dressings in that area. But I can also use that in the coleslaw to, you know, just make it into coleslaw, because you just kind of need some liquid in there, unless you just want to use the cabbage, and that works too. Anyway, so if you do a list as you go, and look through at what freezer meals you're gonna bring, and you're like, okay, pasta puttanesca, like I would like to have a salad with that, and I'm gonna need to bring the spaghetti with us so that it can cook up in there. So you can just, you know, or garlic bread, I wanna bring that from my freezer, you know? So that's just a little hack. Being a mom, over the years I have learned, I've gotten better at traveling, and mostly we've done road trips, but we've also done some like really big vacations back when some of our kids were younger, and you just have to be really organized, or, well, you know what, worst case scenario, it's all chaos and memories are still made, but it does help to be organized. All right. And as I've been talking to you, I'm like, okay, I also need to add to my list. So I've got this list, especially of toddler things, you know, the sand machine and the baby monitor and those swim diapers and the life jacket, and, you know, but as I was talking, I was like, oh, his bike helmet. We've got this cutest little attachment that fits onto my husband's bike and then makes it so he's got his own seat, his own handlebars, his own little footrest, and he sits in front of my husband, and he's just like, oh, on cloud 9 when he's on that bike. Loves his bike, right? He calls it his bike, the little one. So have to remember to bring his bike helmet, of course. All these things, and sunscreen, and you guys get it? Beach toys, right? Anyway, oh, so much to do, but at least the food is getting done today, and then tomorrow I can do the packing and not have to worry about this. If there were ever a better example of done is better than perfect, I'm not sure I know. Because this is like, just, you know, the wrong size potatoes, the wrong size bag of the potatoes, the wrong type of onion, the wrong type of cheese, but it all works, and we're gonna eat hash browns and it's gonna be great. We've already moved into our plan B. I can tell you right now from the time that it is, we are not sadly gonna get to plan C, but in my plan B, I also planned to do a buffalo chicken dip to bring with us for one of those movie nights, and I've got some buffalo chicken left, so I'm gonna throw that together, I think. I just have to make sure that I have ranch dressing, because that's the one thing that I don't always carry from, like, the rest of the things I always have in the house. So I'm just gonna give that a check, and I will be right back to report. It is like a summer miracle. We have a bottle of ranch dressing. I seriously do not often stock this, but must have been on sale or something. Yes, it was. There was our local grocery store, it's great. We have 15% off on the first Tuesday of the month, which you've heard me talk about, but they have started doing this, it's called Plenty for 20 thing, where you can get 4 packs of meat or produce, certain things only, but for $20, and if you hit that on the 15% off day, it's great. They have also started to do this throwback, I think it's Thursdays, where, maybe it's Tuesdays actually, where you can get certain things for $1.49. And so this was $1.49. And sometimes it coincides with the 15% off Tuesday as well. You can get, like, there's been all kinds of things. There's even been like produce things that are $1.49 for like a pack of. It's pretty great. I know that it's just to get you in the door so that you'll buy the other things, and that you know, they're counting on you making impulse purchases, and they haven't met me because I don't really do that very often. I have been known, though. It has happened. Anyway, that's beside the point. I got this on sale. So we have it, and we can do some buffalo chicken dip that we can take with us. Today is turning out just so beautifully. Okay, let's get going. All right, we have our shredded buffalo chicken. I'm gonna add in our ranch dressing. Then add in more buffalo sauce. I put that away. Frank's Red Hot. I will be back. Might as well get the rest of the things. So we're gonna use water chestnuts. I like to do that. I'm allergic to celery. So the water chestnuts freeze nicely, and they still give me that crunch that celery would give you. So I do that in place of that. And then cheese. Again, we could do cheddar cheese, which is what you're supposed to do, or we could just use the rest of this and call it a day. So habanero cheese in the buffalo chicken dip. This is what's happening. And we're also gonna do cream cheese. So because I wasn't sure if we were gonna be doing this, I didn't leave it out to soften. So I'm gonna have to soften it in the microwave. So just put it in something for that. This has been an adventure today. We're just flying by the seat of our pants. But it's all working out, and look how much I'm getting to bring. I actually used up most of my appetizers recently, so I don't have a lot of appetizers to take with me. And I like taking appetizers with me, especially because there's so many other people going on this with my nieces and their families and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And so I just feel like you do tend to get invited to things, or we have a lot of board games there. And we invite people over, you know, after the toddler's asleep to play board games, and then it's so nice to have things to munch on. So the buffalo chicken dip could be used for that, or if I had some other appetizers, I would pull those out or bring those with us. But I might be stuck just, you know, crackers and cheesing it. Either way, it's really about the company and the visiting and the board games and just spending time together. So no matter what we serve, it'll be fine. And I forgot that we also have that Chex mix. So the Chex mix would be great to put out if we're having company over for a games night. And yeah, this is looking great. This will be fabulous. Okay, have to grab those water chestnuts. And since I'm slicing these anyway, I'm actually gonna finish slicing that purple onion. I had thought that I would just bag it and keep it as a half in case I needed like sliced or chunked, you know, for a recipe. But now that I've used so much of it in the hash brown casserole, I now need it for those nachos I'm gonna make on the trip. So this will go in that prep bowl. The other thing is, if you have the nacho toppings made and in prep bowls, all of them go really well in omelets too. So that's something where it's a lot easier to be like, oh, I can whip up an omelet today because all of the vegetables are already chopped, you know? And if you wanted to add other things into that, you could, you know, maybe some mushrooms or some spinach or something. But the bulk of the work is done with your peppers and onions and jalapenos. So I like to get multiple uses out of things in case you hadn't noticed. All right, where did I put that can opener? Just when I said that I wasn't gonna take the electric can opener out because we were only gonna open one can today, and we're on to our second can. Okay, now because I have decided that I cannot do Plan C, which Plan C, I have to tell you, it was gonna be pretty fun. We're gonna make some more appetizers, of course, just in case for the board game nights, but we were also going to make more waffles because I have enough, but I don't have enough to like be able, see, I'm not good with can openers. I have done very poorly here. Okay, I'll tell you the rest and then we'll get back to the can because this is like all over my counter now. This is why I have an electric can opener. So I have no idea what I was saying. I have no idea. It's completely gone. It took a vacation. My thought took a vacation. You know, when we were doing our last live cooking class, Christy had a thought that took a vacation, but she was able to actually get it back because somebody told her in the comments what it was. But since this isn't live, you can't tell me what I was talking about. So I apologize for that. But anyway, moving on. I got distracted by the whole, now I had to take out my can opener thing. We'll see if this will work now. So far, so good. Okay, should have just done that in the first place. But now we've got our water chestnuts I'm gonna drain. I think I was telling you about my Plan C, right? Okay, so my Plan C was appetizers, fun party, board game night thing, and what else did I have in my plan C? Oh, yes. Waffles, because yes, I have enough. This is exactly what I was saying. I have enough, but not enough to like be able to come home and still eat waffles at home, which I really enjoy doing. So I might have to do another like breakfast and snack video next month or whatever when I'm back. But also what I was going to do, I'm kind of sad that I did not get to do, it's the most sad thing about this, is that I was going to make mini muffins. And I have to tell you why. I have to show you, I have a visual, hold on. I did that breakfast video a while back that I was telling you about the one where I made the waffles in the first place. And in that video, I also made my mini pancake muffins, and I did them with breakfast sausage in them. They were extremely popular. By the time I went to put them in the freezer, there were about half left. There were only about half left because my husband, but mostly two of my sons, just kept grabbing them, and you can see it in the video, which is really funny. I kind of slowed those parts down so that you can see their hands. Like they were in the kitchen visiting with me, and they just kept like grabbing. And my sons were grabbing like 2 and 3 at a time. So it was really funny. They're small muffins, but still. Anyway, when I was doing that, I actually had to stay up later than I normally would have. And like I was still in the kitchen at like 8, 9 o'clock because I only had one mini muffin tin tray. So I commented in the video that, I keep meaning to buy myself a second mini muffin tin tray for times like this, which, happen more than you might think. And this morning when I was at the post office, I got this. Do you see this? This is the cutest, like, party, kid-friendly mini muffin tin tray ever, and it's silicone, which I haven't used before, but I'm excited to try it. And so as soon as I saw this, I was like, I am either making mini pumpkin muffins or some more mini pancakes, but in a different, like a different flavor this time, or I'm gonna make some mini zucchini muffins because I've got some zucchini. Like, I was totally planning this out. I was super excited to do it. But it was just like last minute because I saw the tray and then I was like, oh, I have to use this. So I'm gonna have to use it in a different video. But thank you to Carrie, who is like incredible, and she is a club member and super active in our Facebook group, and she's just awesome. And I'm not just saying that because she sent me a gift, like she is awesome. But it does help that she sent me a gift. So anyway, usually when you go to the post office box, you just get boring business things. And today I got the most fun ever. Like, look at this. Is this not the cutest? Like, look at the confetti. Anyway, sadly, I will not be able to do anything with it today, but I'm gonna do a whole other video where I use it, and who knows, it might be so much fun, I might make multiple things with it. So yeah, anyway, sadly, no plan C, but we're doing well on our plan B, and I'm already feeling more relaxed about leaving on this trip. It's just, once you have the food taken care of, that's such a big chunk of things. Now, I will also be buying some fresh things, like I said, fruit, but also probably get some buns or bread so that we can bring sandwiches or bunwiches down to the lake if we go to the lake for the day, those kinds of things, because, it is vacation and we will be enjoying it as a vacation. But this stuff is just going to get us like the biggest head start ever. Let me grab the cream cheese. And the timing is working out perfectly because our last tray of Chex Mix just finished in the oven, so I can let that cool and transfer it into a container. Now, if you stay tuned to the end of this video, then I'm gonna share some highlights and thoughts about our trip. And, if we used the freezer meals or if we didn't, because I'm nothing if not real. and I definitely will always tell you when plans go awry. But hopefully this will just be smooth sailing. I also might decide at the last minute to grab some other things out of the freezer to take with us, just sort of as an in case those like meals out and things don't work, because I can tell you that this particular toddler is not cooperative when it comes to restaurants. So there won't be like eating out so much as there might be some takeout. But with freezer meals, you don't really need takeout because you can do it faster and it tastes better when you do it yourself. I'm gonna pop a video right there, actually up there. It is to our homemade Chinese takeout recipes, and that can make you avoid takeout altogether. And now that I'm saying that, I'm like, do I have any left? I don't think so, because we ate the pineapple fried rice, we ate the mushu pork, we ate one of the other ones. What was it? Cashew chicken sheet pan. Oh, so good. Anyway, I think Christy took the other ones home with her. Whatever. Beef and broccoli. What else did we do? Ginger beef. Yeah, she took the beef ones because I'm not a big beef eater. But yes. Anyway, you can check out that video. But yes, stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to share some highlights and some thoughts and just, give you the real as I usually do. I'm going to put this down and grab the cream cheese. Along the vein of not wanting to do dishes on vacation, I am popping these into small containers that can go straight into the oven and that have lids and all of that. And yeah, I already am looking more forward to this trip than I was this morning. When this morning, to be honest, it just felt overwhelming. It just kind of felt like so much work and so much left to do. But today, we've gotten a lot of that done. And I even managed to go to the post office, like I was saying, and I actually snuck in a breakfast out with my husband because we were kid-free for like a few hours. And so what do you do when you're kid-free for a few hours? You go to the post office, you run errands, you get things off your to-do list, but also you spend some time together, which was really nice. And even though we will have a 7-hour drive each way together, it will be, we will be listening to music from Thomas the Tank Engine, from the musical Annie, because that is our toddler's favorite movie. What else? What else is on his playlist? It just, all the kids' songs, right? Oh, Baby Shark. That one is one where he's like, again. Yeah, so it's not going to be, quite as relaxing a drive as my drive to Idaho just was, but maybe we'll stop along the way. There are some beautiful sights on this drive, and he's going to need to stretch his legs. Our daughter's going to need to, get away from the crying and whining in the vehicle, so she's going to want us to stop as well. And this is family, right? This is how it works. It's the good, the bad, and the in-between. All right. Let's get this portioned out. I always put these the wrong way. I always put it so that the foil is on the top, but you're not supposed to. You're supposed to put it this way so that you can write on that. Well, I don't think that's why you're supposed to. I think the foil is meant to be next to the food, but also then you can write on it. Of course, because we use labels, I don't have to write on it. But anyway, this time I'm being intentional. I'm doing it the right way. Well, I am here with my London Fog, which is super fancy tea, to give you an update on our vacation. So the good news is that we ate well because the food really was fantastic. And we didn't end up eating out at all, which saved us a lot of money. And it did take some stress off. However, it did not go as planned. I will let you know how I used the food, but first I have to let you know that for our week-long trip, kind of an 8-day, I guess, was supposed to be. We came back 4 days early. So that'll tell you why I said vacation in quotes. Our little guy, he is going through some things, and so he is not coping well with change. We suspected that we would run into trouble before we left, but we thought, you know, at least he's got us and he's used to us, and it should be fine. And there's other family that's going to be there, so, you know, he'll probably adjust. It might take him like a night or two. He might not sleep well. The drive might go badly, but I'm sure when he's there, he'll love it. He'll love the mountains. He'll love all the activity. There's like pools and he loves to swim. So it'll be great. There's like, my nieces have kids that are close to his age, so he's going to have so much fun. And that didn't happen. So as for the drives, I got one of those over the seat, like, or back of the seat organizer things. I ordered it from Amazon. It actually worked out really well. I might put a link in my Amazon store for that, so you can check that out. And also I'll put a link for the little snack containers that I used, because I loved those and I'm still using those all the time, like for park days or just, you know, even for taking to church or whatever. I'm using those all the time. So I love the snack containers. But I think that being organized and like having the books and having those like Color Wonder pages, he did eat one of the markers, like the tip off one of the markers. So I mean, it wasn't like completely ideal, but I think all of those things and being organized and having the snacks and everything made the drive go as well as could be expected. It was 7 hours each way, so that's never going to be like, you're not going to get through that completely unscathed with a not quite 2-year-old, but I do think that it went like pretty well, considering we were pretty happy with how he did on the drive and like how we did on the drive. When we arrived, we knew, okay, so when I packed the cooler, you're gonna see in here that I've got all the freezer meals over on one side, and they're stacked like you would stack library books, because they were previously frozen, so they're easy to stack that way. But all the way over on the other side, next to the fridge things, I have the Caesar chicken pasta salad. And the reason that I put it over on the other side is because I did want it to somewhat thaw before we arrived, because I knew that on the day we got there, we were going to be going straight away to the place where my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were staying there, and all of like their kids, so their 4 daughters were my nieces, and their spouses and kids were all going to be there. So it was like, I think there were 28 of us, and it was a really good time. All I had time for, we pulled in, and I had time to unpack, unload the cooler, and then throw that pasta salad into a bowl. And I had bought some bacon bits, like those real bacon bits or whatever, and so I added those into it because, you know, I forgot to do the crumbled bacon on the day of, if you know, as you guys might remember. And then I went over with that pasta salad. I also brought a bowl of our Chex mix, and the pasta salad was a huge hit. I had 2 people asking for the recipe, so that's always a good sign. And of course, Chex mix is, you know, always a winner. We had a fantastic time. I have 0 pictures. I have 0 pictures. I don't have 0 pictures of the trip. I have 4 pictures of the trip. I have 0 pictures of any of the food. And as you'll see, the 4 pictures I have of the trip are not like, they're not that awesome either, because it's just an indication of how things actually went, which was constant meltdowns, absolutely no sleep, which is really why we turned around and came back. I don't mean like waking up a lot or like, you know, getting up early, going to bed late. I mean like no sleep. And then you're really aware that there's like, because it's shared walls, like someone else on the other sides of those walls are having their nights ruined by a screaming baby. And so you're thinking like, it's not just our vacation that's getting wrecked here, it's other people's. So that made me feel badly, that contributed. But the main thing was because of the lack of sleep, not only were we exhausted, but our little guy was like beside himself all day. So that's why he was having the meltdowns and like, you know, just couldn't even think straight because he was so tired. So the only time he did sleep was the first time, which was funny / scary, is my husband has, I don't know what it's called. It's some kind of a special thing. I think it starts with an S. Maybe I'll find out and put it in the comments, but it goes on your bike. You attach a separate bike seat in front of your bike seat. It's this cute little bike seat. And then you attach these tiny little handlebars onto your handlebars, and then a little foot, they're not pedals, but like little footrests go on so that he sits on the bike in front of my husband. He's got his own helmet, but he's not strapped in any way. That's the important part to know about this contraption, is that it's awesome, and it, you know, it teaches them like the feel for where to lean and all of those things, but they're not strapped in. Like, it's not like they're on the back of your bike in their own bike seat or whatever. This is like, it's like they're riding the bike. So they hold onto their little handlebars, they sit on their little seat, they've got their feet on the rests, and they lean with you and all of that. So the first time that he actually really slept on this trip was riding the bike. So my husband was like on this trail with him and sort of started to realize that, like, at one point his hands dropped. So he was like, buddy, like, you gotta hold on to the handlebars, you know, like, put your hands back up. But they didn't go back up. So then he noticed the head is like, you know, drooping down. He was pretty worried. So obviously, like, he grabbed hold of him and was trying to steer with the one hand and hold on to him with the other hand, and they still had a ways on the trail until they got anywhere. And then it comes out at the bottom of the gondola, and my husband's trying to figure out, like, he couldn't wake him up. Because he's so exhausted that he couldn't get him to wake up. And so he's trying to figure out, how am I going to get the bike and the kid on the gondola and get up to where I can put him in a bed? Like, this is a disaster. But one of my nephews was at the bottom of the gondola with his family, and so he called out his name and got him to take the bike up, and he took the baby up, and, you know, and that time we were actually able to transfer him, and he slept for a little tiny while. So, but that was the first time he fell asleep, and other than that, as you'll see from this picture, he slept in the stroller. He slept in the vehicle, so we went into town to get groceries and he slept in the vehicle. And you know how that is? Like, then you run some more errands and only one of you goes in, the other stays in the vehicle with the baby, and you do that so that he can sleep as long as possible. You go drive around because there's a lake there, so we're like, we'll go look at the lake. Maybe by the time we get there, we can wake him up and we can go play in the sand, but he wouldn't wake up. So, because he was not sleeping at night. So that time he slept for 2 hours, but only in the vehicle. And then as soon as we tried to transfer him out, that was the end. So yeah, we tried to take him to the pool, and it's a great pool. And usually, like I said, he loves swimming, but he was so beside himself with, like, between the, like, change, which he doesn't do well with, and with the lack of sleep, he just couldn't. He was so timid and was just clinging to us and crying and wouldn't enjoy the pool. So that was the best. So I have no pictures from pool day. I have no pictures from, like, beach day because there wasn't one. Yeah, there's just, I have, like, one picture of my daughter on the gondola, and the gondola is, like, the boring part of the trip. She did go biking. She went with her aunt and cousins and, like, had a really great biking day. So I'm thankful for that. She was able to enjoy something on the trip, but the rest of the trip was, like, screaming child, tantruming child, yeah, just no sleep. And so food, though, pasta salad was a hit and fantastic thing. I mean, when else can you, like, just go and arrive and less than an hour later be at something and have unpacked and show up with great food. Like, so that was great. Thankful for freezer meals. The next morning, which was the Sunday morning, I did make the frittata and hash brown casserole, and oh, it was so good, of course, but also the leftovers were great. We had the leftovers for lunch the following day, and they were great to have, and just, you know, so I had that. And it's always such a treat to have like a brunchy breakfast, right? It does make you feel like you're on holidays. We had the pasta pomodoro another day, and we did buy a bagged salad at the grocery store. I wish I had taken pictures of these things or a video to show you, but really there was like a child on my hip, on my leg, on my, you know, so there was just no, the last thing I was thinking about was getting video of the food, I have to be honest with you. So the other thing that we had was the Dr. Pepper pulled pork, and I had been intending that we would invite one of my nieces and their families over for a meal at some point, and that always feeds a crowd. It's always a crowd pleaser, everyone loves it. But I actually ended up getting a text from my cousin, and she lives in BC, and she was like, just happened to be where we were, and was like, do you guys happen to be here? I know you come here sometimes. And we were there, so like, again, freezer meals to the rescue, because I was able to say, hey, do you guys want to come for dinner? And this is like in the afternoon already. I had not thawed the roast yet, because that wasn't what I was planning to have that night, because it was just going to be us eating. But I quickly tried to thaw this thing, got it in the slow cooker, and I did manage to get it ready. There was a bit of an incident with trying to like defrost it in the microwave, and there was no defrost button on that microwave, but it was a huge hit. It was great to be able to have. We again like had I just had coleslaw with it and buns that we had picked up in town on the day that we tried to do the whole sleep in the vehicle thing, which, you know, did work well. And so I had that, and we had like chips and salsa and again with the Chex mix. And so we were able to serve like a big meal to her and her husband and one of their sons. And he was super hungry because he was there for a bike race. It was just great to be able to have a visit and get to know them better. And actually, it kind of feels like it might have been worth it just for that, because really that's the only memorable thing that we did on this trip. That and that first potluck when we first arrived was really, really nice to be able to see everyone. And so those things, I guess really it is the people that make any vacation, and those things really did make it for us. But as far as like rest, relaxation, fun, activities, like that is a 0 in all those categories. The food again was great. A lot of it we packed up and brought home with us. And then the day after we got back, when I was having a bit of a pity party, I was feeling sorry for myself. This was my only summer vacation, and it was like quote unquote ruined. Again, not his fault at all, but just, you know, it did not work out. And I was having a little, like, I'm just being honest, I was having a little pity party. And then I remembered that I had the quesadillas, and we had bought the avocados and the cilantro, and I had taken lime juice and all the things, serrano peppers, to be able to make great guacamole. So I kind of made it so that I had like an at-home treat. I made myself quesadillas with the guacamole. I super enjoyed that. And while he was napping, I ate those and also watched a bit of TV and just felt like, okay, see, it's like almost like an at-home vacation. And since I didn't, like, I was supposed to be gone, so there were no appointments or anything that I had to get to, and I kind of just made the best of it. And there was another afternoon where, again, because we were supposed to be away, we had a bit of like flexibility in our schedule, and so my husband and I just went out to eat somewhere locally here, and you know, tried to make it feel like we at least had a little bit of a break and vacation. So yeah, my update is it was a bust. What worked was those vehicle organizers for the drive. That was handy. The snack things worked. The Chex Mix was a big hit. That pasta salad, like the food actually. And I'm not just telling you this because it's a food video. That actually really was the highlight of the trip. And it was nice to be able to at least enjoy the food. And oh my word, before I left, I was thinking like maybe I should take a little bit less because maybe we will end up eating in some restaurants there or on the way. Once we realized like what this overtired toddler was going to be like in public, we were so thankful that we never had to enter a restaurant because that would have really like been the icing on this gross cake if we had to do a restaurant. So I was able to even like pack us sandwiches for the drive back because when we picked up the groceries and even things I brought from home, I had brought cheese slices and things like that. So got that all done, and on the drive home we just ate in the vehicle. And so I was so appreciative. Like I always am appreciative of freezer meals, but I was like so extra grateful because I'm like, freezer meals saved the day. Thank you for joining me today on this packing vacation prep vacation summary foray. But again, I just really appreciate you being here and going along with my brain on these tangents and helping me remember things that I need to pack. Now I am off to check the actual list and finish with the other packing. As I was like cleaning this up, I remembered, oh my goodness, medicine. Like I need to make sure that everybody has their inhalers and their EpiPens and their all the things that you need to bring and be thinking about. So I'm gonna do that next, just while I'm thinking of it, because it's fresh in my mind and I don't want to be like, I should have done it then. The other thing that I thought of is, of course, like things like the baby spoons and the baby forks, like they're not gonna have cutlery like that there. So I need to pack that straight away. And we just have so many things. It's a good thing that we have a really big trunk. Okay, thanks again for joining me. Oh, I'm gonna pop a video right there. I will put that Chinese takeout video there because it's full of great recipes and Christy and I just had a lot of fun doing it. So you can check that out. I'll see you next time. Happy cooking.